Who's really stopping you? They say you can't do it. Some people say that they are actually trying to stop you. But here's the truth. There is no they. My name is Peter Abundant, aka Dr. Abundant, PhD and ordained minister of metaphysical sciences, which is the study of spirituality. I am also the author of The Enlightened Shadow and Spiritual, Not Religious, both available on Amazon and Audible. Now, when we think about this journey of conscious living, spirituality, self-improvement, self-help, self-empowerment, there are many layers of understanding that you have to peel away and you have to go through to get to a fundamental truth. And it is that fundamental truth that gives you or allows you the access to the power that is you, that is within you. Now, one of the things that we experience on this journey is this idea that there is a person, there is a group, there is even a race, right, of people that are trying to prevent you from being you. That no matter what kind of realizations you experience, you have to always be in the defense. You have to always be in this mindset that somebody is out to get you, that there is a group of people out to get you. Now, how does that feel? Does that feel empowering in itself? You know, to me, the idea of it, even though, don't get me wrong, on some degrees, there may be some truth to it. But what I want you to understand is as you go through and you really recognize the foundation, the core of truth, this is an illusion. This is a distraction. Okay. Now, yes, there may be people in places of power that would rather keep their power and feel that the idea of others having power will take away from them. So they, coming from their own ego, will try to protect themselves, so to speak. But does that really mean that they have power over you? You see, many people believe that they do. And though they may try to, put things in the way, they may try to make things a little bit difficult, try to make things a little bit more complicated. The reality is, if you are focused and if you are dialed in to your purpose, to who you know yourself to be, and the unfoldment of that, guess what? It doesn't matter at all what somebody else tries to do to prevent you to experience that. You see? So you have to understand that this journey is really getting a clear understanding of truth and dispelling the common beliefs of like external forces that are blocking your success. A main one is the devil, right? We have God, we have the all amazing and mighty and powerful, right? God that has created all things, including the devil. But yet the devil is trying to stop you from being your true self. It's trying to stop you from living up to your highest potential. And then that lends itself to, thinking of societies, secret societies and haters and gatekeepers out there that are trying to prevent you from actually being successful, ultimately being happy and fulfilled. You have to be mindful about these things. You have to be mindful, especially about the things that create negativity within you, that allow you to really feed fear and feed your ego. Because every time you feed that, that is the thing that's actually pulling you away from truth, pulling you away from success, fulfillment, and happiness and joy. So you see, the thing is, when we think about when I think about even the idea of competition, really, you have to just simply recognize that there are other players in this field of life. You see, and you also have to recognize that in this field of life, there are a set of rules. There is a default setting, right? When you come on this planet Earth, you're born here, and you can either go along with the default setting, or you can transcend that setting, right? That is, which is the purpose of this whole, path, this whole, objective, this whole, you know, experience is to actually surpass, ascend above the default setting of life and really come into your own as to creating your own reality. You can just follow the default setting, follow the quote unquote reality that most people have just succumbed to and follow. Okay. Where you have what's called other people competition fighting for basic needs, right? Food, money, shelter, AKA money, right? They're fighting for those things. They're fighting for power because in the default setting, that is what it appears to be all about. The power of having more than the others. And so when you are in this, realm, in this default setting, you succumb to those beliefs. You choose that as your reality. And so therefore you live a reality where you are following along with, the status quo. Okay. You are doing the basic things that everybody says how you have to do. Get a job, get a family, have kids, get a dog, buy a house, have a mortgage that you pay off and, pay your taxes, all those things. But we're finding that people are really questioning that. They're really coming into ownership of who they are and what they really want, and really questioning the status quo, questioning the default setting, and going beyond that, asking themselves if there is even something beyond that, and just simply asking that question takes you beyond that. So you have to recognize that when we take this journey, we often take it, even though we recognize the ego. Some people will say that they have, killed the ego, but that's not possible in this physical realm. Okay. Unless you've transcended, unless you've, transitioned and you've moved on to another realm, maybe, right? But here, the ego is a requirement. The ego is part of the game. And so in order for you to recognize who you truly are and understand ultimate truth, you have to acknowledge the playing field from, a above point of view rather than being in it and being on the ground level at the same level of it, because then it's hard to see the big picture. So you somehow have to get an advantage point where you can just see above it all, even if it is the slightest bit, right? So maybe, reading one simple book may take you there because it gives you a sense of perspective. And so then you start to ask questions. Then you start to really get into getting more information, more wisdom, more knowledge, having conversations with others. Then you start to even go higher. Okay. You begin to see more. But sometimes when we see more, we get fixated on one thing. We get fixated on what all those other people are doing in the default setting. And then we start to put judgment on certain people and where they are. And then because we still identify with being a part of this reality, this shared reality, we then assume that the things that we are witnessing, right, amongst other people living in the default setting is something that we need to still fear. So when we watch societies and we watch people and we watch races go against one another, right, we assume based on our ego's perspective that we are still a part of that. And therefore we have to essentially watch out for that, right? Those things are a threat for me. Those kind of people or that kind of mindset is a threat for me. That is the thing that is trying to prevent me from ascending higher and higher and higher. You see? So there is a sense of a part of you that is ascending, but if you're not recognizing and checking your ego still, even as you ascend, will manipulate whatever you're experiencing as something to fear. And so you have to understand that when we think about this idea of they or it or the devil trying to stop you, okay, that is simply just a reflection of your own insecurities or disconnection, okay? So you have to show that this is about really focusing on the objective, okay? Recognizing that this idea of you being able to ascend to another level, even achieve enlightenment, is one that cannot be interrupted. It cannot be corrupted by the idea of a they trying to prevent you, right? Because prevent you from doing it. When we think about the great teachers, avatars, spiritual symbols, Jesus, Buddha, what have you, Moses, Muhammad, like these people recognized what was going on, but they didn't identify it. They didn't identify that they were a part of that. They were really trying to help other people ascend just like they have. Because once you ascend, then you are, the people aren't beneath you, but the system is, you see. And then therefore there is no more concern about they, right? The system is trying to stop you. They are trying to stop you. They lied to you. I see a lot of content surrounded by and focused on this idea that they are trying to prevent you from being you. Now, again, there are a multitude of levels to this, and in some level that can be true. But on the grand scheme of everything, it isn't. When you reach a certain point of awareness, there is no they. Okay? The only thing that can stop you from being you and coming into that self-awareness, that enlightenment, is you. You're the one currently that is stopping you from being you, from coming into that realization. And the process of spirituality is really recognizing that and peeling away the excess. The true essence of the spiritual journey is not about judging people, looking at people, shaming people, accusing people, right? It's not about even giving people the power to take away from your experience or take away from your journey. It is really taking full ownership of your journey and recognize that, yes, people are a reflection of that journey, right? Just like you saying people are trying to stop you, right, from being your highest self. That is a reflection of yourself. That is saying that it is really you that is preventing yourself from being your highest self. I hope that's clear to you. And so when you then recognize that all of these reflections or ideas about people, secret societies, the world, the government, all these different things, you have to go beyond that and recognize that they are reflections of the self. Because when you recognize they are reflections of the self, then you begin to take ownership, and then you recognize the power all this time is within you. Okay. So you have to keep focusing on purpose, right? When you focus on purpose, when you focus on this goal, this desire to achieve enlightenment, happiness, fulfillment, whatever it is, even if it's millions of dollars, okay, if this is a true spiritual purpose for you, an amazing business, write a beautiful book, whatever it is, when you are focused on that purpose, the idea of they disappears because nothing, no one will stop you. No one can. You see, that is the true essence of what I want to share with you, is understanding that there is no they when you are focused on you, when you are focused on the fulfillment of the intention, the purpose, the desire, the mission. Focus on the mission, and they will, in fact, disappear. The truth is, they is just simply a symptom of a society that really fails to take ownership. When we don't take ownership we tend to look for other things to blame. You know, we tend to recognize that, you know, over the course of time, we tend to recognize that, hey, okay, well, if I keep blaming these people, then I will never get to where I want to go. You know, so eventually for many people, they just give up because they have succumbed to they. They have succumbed to this idea of they and them rather than recognizing that if I look within and stay focused, then this idea of they trying to stop me goes away. You know, it goes away completely. There is no one that can stop you when you're fully dialed in. Okay. They only exist when you are uncertain, when you are divided, when you are distracted, when you are insecure, right? When you're not certain as to who you are, your path in life, and what it is you desire to achieve. And this is what I mean. Like there's many levels of like purpose, intention, desire. Purpose is the ultimate, you know, understanding of what it is you are meant to and here to do. That by no means should be compromised. That is just what we're here to do. That is the mission. That is here. That is it. Right. And then when we get into things like desire, wants, those things could be more superficial. But even then, right? If you want $1 million, if you desire $1 million, if you are completely focused on it, it doesn't matter who they are, who's trying to prevent you from doing it, you will achieve $1 million. You have to just stay focused on that goal, that objective, and you'll get it. Okay. So recognize that they are just essentially projections of your own disbelief. And I want you to absolutely believe in yourself, because when you believe in yourself, you be and you live that which you desire. Okay. You be and you live that which is in your nature. You are creator. That's what you are doing. That's your job. That's your ultimate purpose here. That is who you are to the core, you know? So when you clear things like disbelief, all the resistance, all that stuff fades away. So, you know, recognize that, align with your purpose, you know, encourage within yourself a sense of clarity in your desire, in your, you know, curiosity, in the things that you want to experience and create in your life. Let go of this idea that people are trying to stop you, that people are trying to keep you stuck, you know, keep you chained figuratively in a space where you are just living a mundane life. Just observe and simply ask yourself questions about who you are and what it is that you desire. You know, even if it is things that you enjoy at the moment, ask yourself still, do you really desire this? And if you do, then still ask yourself, maybe how can you make it better? You know, so continue to deep dive and explore what's going on with you in relationship to the reflections around you, because everything is a reflection of the self, you know? So when you acknowledge that there's things in life that isn't in harmony or doesn't allow you to feel good, that doesn't really bring a sense of joy, peace, and tranquility to you, you know, like this idea of they trying to stop you and they wanting to prevent you from doing this, and they don't like you because of your color, they don't like you because of your gender, they are trying to stop you. Do you really want to succumb to that? No. So the only way to actually transcend that is to do it here. Don't acknowledge them. You are above that. You see? So again, there are so many layers to this. And I know for many people, they're going to be like, well, I know there's racism. I know there's systemic issues. You know, I know there's gender, you know, inequality. All these things, yes, they are real. right? To a degree. But that degree is determined by you. You determine how much identity, how much power, how much influence, how much impact that is going to have on the reality of what you want and what you are to create. You see, those are all parts of the default setting. So if you are to live in this default setting and exist in a spiritual, way in this default setting, yeah, okay, sure. That is going to be your reality. But now when you take your spiritual lessons, insight, wisdom, the inner knowing, inner knowledge, and you transcend that default setting, you can still see them for what they are, but you see them where they are, much lower than where you are. You still acknowledge them to a degree, but they really don't exist to you, right? They really exist in a very simulated, artificial reality. And you are transcending that and you're going into a higher space, a higher realm of existence over that plane of existence where the default setting and all this crap and all they and them exists. You see? So recognize that purpose, certainty, that equals momentum. That equals your ability to actually move in a way that makes you unstoppable. Be unstoppable. Even when things are in the way, they are not. Imagine a giant boulder rolling down a massive mountain. You can have 10 people, right? They trying to stop this mountain. He's trying to stop this boulder from coming down the mountain. What do you think is going to happen? Those people will get crushed as if they didn't exist because according to that boulder's mentality, the momentum, right? They don't exist. So be the boulder. Come down your mountain, right? Build up that momentum. Now, if you're done blaming them, what I want you to do is comment below. I am the power. I am the power. I am the power. Please feel free to share this with somebody who needs to hear it, because many of us do. Thank you so much. Feel free to go to drabundant.com, subscribe to my daily newsletter, and get access to this free ebook, The Power Within. Thank you so much. Continue to join me on this journey. Peace and abundance always.